Hello YouTube, how are you? One of my TikToks just blew up. It was about Rufus. You remember Rufus, the farm cat, bless him. These prints were in the background and people started asking about them. So I did a little TikTok about them and I've now turned it into a YouTube because I know some of you would be very interested to know more about these prints. Some of you have asked about the creepy children paintings on the wall, and they actually have a really interesting story behind them. If you're not familiar with these big-eyed melancholy children, back in the 1960s they were hugely popular and became a staple of mid-century modern home decor. If you bought one of these prints back then, you would have believed them to be by an artist called Keane. Walter Keane, this man, which was quite remarkable as he couldn't paint to save his life. The person who was painting the pictures was his wife, Margaret. Now, in the early days, Margaret would paint the pictures and Walter would go out and sell them, but unbeknownst to Margaret, Walter was passing the work off as his own. She was furious about this, but he convinced her it was the best thing to do, as people like to buy direct from the artist, so reluctantly, she went along with it. Now, one thing about Walter is that he was a brilliant salesman, and within a couple of years, the big-eyed children shot off into the stratosphere and prints and postcards sold in their millions across the globe. Celebrities were queuing up to get their portraits painted by this celebrated artist, Walter Keane. While Walter was living the high life, he was keeping Margaret locked in a room painting for 16 hours a day. Margaret said the whole thing just snowballed, and it was too late to say it wasn't him who painted them. I'll always regret that I wasn't strong enough to stand up for my rights. When she tried to leave, Walter made a serious threat on her life. She was genuinely scared. Meanwhile, the prints were grossing around $2 million a year, which was a ridiculous amount of money in those days. And in 1965, Life magazine ran a profile on the phenomenal success of Walter Keane. After 10 years of marriage, 8 of which Margaret said were horrific, they divorced and Margaret sued Walter for taking credit for her work and taking all the money. The judge challenged them to a paint-off in the courtroom. Margaret bashed this masterpiece out in under an hour. Walter said he couldn't do it as he had a sore shoulder and couldn't lift a paintbrush. Margaret won the court case and was awarded $4 million, but she received nothing when Walter declared himself bankrupt. Margaret passed last year, but not before receiving a Lifetime Achievement Award and full recognition for her extensive body of work. Her incredible story has been turned into a book, Citizen Keane, and a film, Big Eyes, with Amy Adams. It's a fantastic film. Please go and watch it. I love it. And if you use your big eyes and look really closely, you might just catch the celebrated artist Margaret Keane sitting right there on a park bench.